brother-in-law Bob Boylan from one of our previous episodes. We were out here in the fall looking at bees, beekeeping, and collecting some honey. What are we?
Guineas.
What are we looking at today, Bob?
Today we're looking at our maple sugar operation. We're just starting up for this year. We just finished putting in all our taps in the trees, 1,600 taps, and we expect it we're making syrup in the next week or so. Probably from then till early April, syrup.
Rachel's been out here usually in March. You have a maple tasting tour, and that's going to be off for this year. At least our participation in that. But Rachel's been out here before.
Yeah.
Rachel, tell us a little bit about what you experienced at the tasting.
Yeah, actually great. It was several years ago. My sons were younger. They got to go back and see the whole process of syrup being made. And then we got to come into the sugar shack, and there was maple syrup for sale, of course, but lots and lots of other products that are made with maple syrup. I think we got chapstick. What else did we get that day? Candy.
Fry pies.
Yeah, food, delicious food with maple syrup. All kinds of good things to try out. The maple syrup tour, when it is going full strong, is something great to come and experience.
So for our student teachers, is this your first experience seeing how maple is actually made?
Yeah.
Yeah, never been out here before. Sometimes go to Asbury Woods and get to see some of that, but that was when we were really young. It's good to see it.
And Todd, what about you?
A little bummed that the tour won't be in full swing this year because I was looking forward to coming down, but we'll definitely be back sometime in the future.
And so this is part one. We plan on coming back out when the sap's flowing and we're boiling and get to see how the sausage is made. Yeah. Now, invariably, before we get to Bob, let me just tell you. So this is Bob's business, but he relies on family to help him tap. It is always, I repeat, always the worst conditions that he calls us. Say, hey, it's time to tap.
This will be our 9th year of boiling. We started in 2012 with the infrastructure that you're going to be looking at. It's something that I intended to build for retirement, to have a business and to have an income. So that's why we started it when we did. We retired last year. We're currently tapping 1,600 trees. We get about 3/8 of a gallon of syrup per tap, which yields 600 gallons a year. We start Saturday and I finished yesterday on those 1,600.
Making some friends there, Mr. Sturdy.
You just got goose, my dog.
Here's one I took out this morning because the tree had gone dead since we started. This line here, the light blue line, is a little heavier tubing. This is called the lateral line. And then this blue line is softer, more flexible. This is what we call the drop. The drop is from the tap to the lateral line. It's about, we like to go at least 30 inches because Cornell University says that bacteria can't travel more than 30 inches. So we do not want the bacteria to get back into the tree. So we have that distance to prevent that. These also have a quick connect on them. I can take them apart. And this is what I went through by myself. It took about two weeks. I went through and snapped all these in. So when we go to tap, you can see them hanging on the tree there. They're just hanging. That's this piece here, the blue one. The reason, so that means we don't have to carry all these tools with us when we go to tap. All we need is a hammer and a drill. It makes it much faster. Also, another benefit of this, when I first started, I didn't have this quick connect. And we had to take tools with us to reposition the tap every year. But if I have a vacuum issue and I want to find out where it's at, it's really difficult to find squirrel holes. I can go to any tree and I can disconnect this and I can listen and I know if I got vacuum on that line or not. And then I can trace back. So it's a big benefit to have that. He's showing you how I repair a line with a union.
So this is one of the splicing tools. And there's some vice grips here to kind of hold on to. There's some ridges in there to grasp the tubing. And so initially when we started this process 9 years ago, we would have to go in and put in new taps every year because we didn't have that screw-in system. And so we just bring these together, line them up, squeeze them, and that joins those two. And then whenever you release them, they're stuck together, and that's how we connect pieces of the line, add taps in or drops into the laterals. And so these are pretty handy tools.
So you got your main line, we come up. Here we got maple trees going up across here, so we need a lateral to grab those trees. There's two components here. This is called a saddle, just like you put on a horse. It sits on top of the line. We drill a hole in the top of the main line, and there's a rubber gasket underneath this that seals it so we don't leak any vacuum. We have a slide tightener. This is adjustable, so we can move this up and down the lateral, and we want to keep these lines tight because we don't want any dips in them. Now this tree's been tapped for 8 years, and if you look real close, you can see there's an old one, here's one, here's one, here's one. You can see most of them are pretty well healed over completely. Here's one here.
Do you want to stay away from those ones when you tap a new?
We want to be 6 inches left or right, or 6 inches up and down. Because what happens, even though this heals over, there's a little bit of dead wood that is created around that hole inside the tree. And it's dead, it turns brown. So when I drill this, it should be pure white that comes out. The live wood is white. That's where the sap is. What we typically do, we look at that real quick. We can go up here, wherever we want. We also want to try to be either on a south exposure or southeast exposure. If it's frozen and the sun's coming up, it hits us, it thaws it out much quicker. And we can collect more that day. So I think I'm just going to go maybe
Now, when Bob drilled into the wood, he actually drilled in at a very slight upward angle. That helps the sap run out and prevents bacteria and sap from pooling in the hole.
Now you can see there's nothing coming out of that hole right now. Even though it's about 40 degrees, I think it's because it's cloudy today and the wind. The wind is keeping this tree cold and the snow.
Did you go in a certain amount?
Yeah, we got to stop on the drill. Piece of tubing. We go in about 1 3/4 inches.
This moment of Off the Beaten Path is brought to you by Rigid Drills.
Yeah. Did you hear how that changed sound? You know it's tight then.
Can we get some other people drilling and pounding?
Yeah, who wants to drill? See, it's coming a little bit.
Well, get up in there close.
Dripping, it's
Get some of that.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So that's as cold as it is, and most of the trees aren't running. So you can imagine how much faster it is on a warm day.
If the sun's out, it'll be just like a faucet.
Yeah?
Or, almost steady. Okay, pound her in. Wasn't quite in.
Oh, who's that?
we started on a gray line. If we're coming up this gully here, we're going to be on the right side of the gray line. We never cross it. So you'll walk up that gray line, you come to a line, you'll tap out to the end. You walk up to the next lateral, tap in, up, back and forth. So good.
You're a regular Bob Vila, you.
Soul maple tree.
Give it a double. Give it a once over there, Bob. There it is.
Something around these parts called the Bob standard.
You actually got to hit it.
I live with the Bob standard every day of my life.
What were you telling me about how many taps can you stick inside of a tree? What's he doing?
You got to be tree huggers.
Okay,
Right.
so what
If you can't reach around a tree and touch your fingers, you can put 2 taps in it.
you over tap a tree?
Yeah.
You can kill it.
If you
Can you give too much blood? It's essentially the same thing. You're using sap as transport for nutrients
Yep.
and water. If if you're bleeding from multiple spots on your body, you're going to eventually lose enough blood that it's going to impair you. It's going to set you back. Trees are no different. They got to have, this little thing here, and we'll pull it out once the season's
it'll
over.
be healed before next year.
It'll heal up and.
We got one more member that has to tap.
Okay.
Adam didn't know, but I figured you probably did. How much tubing do you have running through?
Oh. Yeah, I don't.
I thought
Do you measure that in feet or miles?
Miles.
Yeah.
Miles.
So it'll be interesting when we get back in school and do Google Map. We can do from that
Okay.
corner down here. Oh, Dylan, we gotta get some camera. My father-in-law, stud basketball player back in the day. Yes, and he was so famous that actually one of his championship games got replayed on the radio just last year. I'm serious.
Really?
And Bob was not afraid to shoot.
No, I wasn't.
I want one more go.
You do?
Yeah.
All right.
I got to live up to the Bob standard. I'm going to pound that in so when
We're going to let Bob get up here and give his nod of approval. He wants the Bob nod of approval, and I said I didn't even
I'll
get
listen for the sound.
that. I didn't even get that on my wedding day.
All at the time.
I'm listening. That's good. When you hear that dull thud, you know it's seeded.
He was gonna wait until you walked away.
You gotta hit it right in the center.
So close.
Want another go?
Yeah. Yeah, the knot. Did you see the knot?
You got it.
Anybody else want another shot? Last tap.
that's it. I'm
I'll
going to bed
do
happy
one,
tonight.
yeah.
What did you guys learn today? I've experienced tapping trees for the last 9 years, and it was a completely new experience for me when we started. Bob and his son Rob and some of the other members of the family went to a convention called Lake Erie Maple Expo, where there were classes and vendors with all of those taps and tubing and explanations of how to use those. So for the first 4 or 5 years, like, I soaked that up and I got immersed in that maple culture. This was your first exposure. Tell me what you think.
It's impressive how extensive that is, and I imagine he didn't start off full force with that many trees tapped.
Yes,
did he really?
he did.
Wow, I mean, that's just amazing. And all the new equipment that he showed us, and different things that are obviously specific for those uses. And learning all of that all at once, like that's just a very impressive undertaking. And to have been there in the fall to do honey and bees, I mean, he has taken on so much. Just huge, extensive knowledge in that man's brain.
Well, he has a big head, so.
I like his approach of treating nature with respect, like not, learning. He's a learned man to do what he's doing, and what your family is doing with this process. You're taking care of what takes care of you, and then there's so much science involved in it. There's just all the equipment and knowing how to use the land to get what you want from it, yet not take too much from it. I really like the way he's doing things out there.
What I love about the whole thing is twofold. I love how he had the forethought to get started while he was still in business. He was still working, and he had a plan. This is what I want to do for retirement, and he jumped in whole hog. I mean, he took about a year and researched it. Went to the Lake Erie Maple Expo. Had some other experts come out, look at his trees, and figure out what the best layout was and what was a manageable amount of work. And looked at evaporators and all the equipment that had to go with it, and then he went in full bore. The other thing I love about it is, like, he's verbalized this many times, but he really wants this to be a family venture. So, like, all of his kids, his grandkids get to come help experience this. We go out in the woods and tap trees. We go up and we cut wood, and we help them fuel, and you fuel the fire when we're boiling. And we are all involved with the tasting tour that we talked about earlier. And it's just, it really is kind of a neat time being together as a family, doing that and having that payoff, because we don't get paid for our efforts except in maple syrup. So we don't buy syrup because we earn it, but that's payment enough.
So stay tuned for part 2 coming up sometime soon, and we're going to finish up this maple tour in a couple weeks.
That will be exquisite.
Delicious.